All right, welcome everyone. Holding by Pirke Avos as the class fathers, as it is known. We are in second chapter, 15th Mishna. This is part 7. Then probably part 8, part 9, part 10, and we're actually going to start a little bit of a new thing here. We spoke the last few weeks. As the Mishnah says, they each said 3 things. Rabbi Lezer says, let your fellows honor to be as dear to you as your own, and spoke about that quite a bit. And now, next part is do not anger easily. Right? You would think is obvious that it is forbidden. Anger, one of the worst character traits a person can have. I don't think there's any question about that. And the question is going to be, how to work on it, right? Which comes up a lot, right? People ask this question a lot. So here the Mishnah says, do not anger easily. Now, everybody has anger at some level. Doesn't say don't get angry ever, right? That's what you might think. That'd be great. I don't know if anyone, can uphold that. People get angry different times, different things. Something's more important, something's less important, whatever it is. But the Mishnah here does not say, and again, we understand, or the rabbis understood, the psyche of man, and that is, the Mishnah is not going to say never get angry, right? Never get angry would be impossible. That would be something that nobody could, uphold, no one could stand by. Right, so therefore, the Mishnah here says, do not anger easily. Now, question is, what does that mean? They say it's obvious. Don't get angry so fast. Yeah. So easier said than done. A lot of times, person get angry, A, because they're not thinking, B, because they're under stress, C, because they might be they might be sleep deprived. Maybe, a million reasons why a person would get angry. And I would say not all of it's not justified. Could very well be justified. All right. What's the problem if we say it's justified to be angry? That means the person doesn't have proper emunah. That means the person has to work on their emunah, on their faith and belief in God. Why? Because if they really get angry, they don't see everything comes from God. They don't see God using this person to get you angry or cause you damage. Like that person's like the stick, right? Like the parable we always use, the person hits a dog with a stick. Who's the dog go after the stick? We also go after the stick. Someone causes us damage. We're running after the person, and they deserve to be run after. I don't think any question if they cause damage. Nonetheless, you have to realize God's using that person to get to you. Harbe shluchim l'makom, a lot of people, a lot of messengers that God can send a person's way. So here, what does it mean exactly? What does it mean? Don't get angry easily. When it comes to character traits, we mentioned one of the worst ones is anger, because the person loses control, and it can trigger other bad character traits as well. Right. So first of all, you have to understand how bad it is. The Gemara in Sanhedrin at the beginning says that even if a person was standing over the pit of hell, standing over the pit of Gehenna, the person's still going to be angry, not going to change. Right? It doesn't matter. Here's people screaming, whatever. The person loses themselves. Right? So Gemara says, even if the pit of heaven was underneath them, it wouldn't stop. Right? Also brought down that the person's angry, you don't start up with them. You don't say anything to them. Right? Why not? Because they're not going to listen. Right? They're for sure not going to listen. You gotta let a person's anger subside before you can speak to them. Right? Otherwise, impossible. Seemingly impossible. A person's rip roaring mad. You don't trying to appease it. Right? They're not in the right mind. They can't think straight. They're just caught up in the whatever it is. Now, doesn't everyone get angry? We said. That's the novelty here. Because you could have read the Mishna and say, what do I need you to speak about it for? All right? I also understand it. Don't get angry easily. Very good. Right? Seems obvious. But what doesn't the Mishna say? The Mishna does not say never get angry. Why not? Why would the Mishna not say that? Because that's impossible. Seemingly impossible. But most people get angry. So the language over here, speaking of, doesn't say don't get angry. It says if you got to get angry, don't get angry so quick. So we understand one of the worst character traits as we explained. Now, interesting enough, the main reason the person gets angry over here, why would a person get angry? Someone caused them damage. True? Somebody dishonored them a little bit. They think they deserve more honor. This person dishonored them or didn't show proper respect. Right? There are things a person can get angry about that really we shouldn't. Really, a lot of things were very petty. I'm not going to say everything, because I'm sure there are plenty of things that people could do to us that make us angry. So we have to remember, it's all a test. You got to say, God, you gave me this test, I'm going to pass it 100%. But sometimes you lose control. Now, I would say like this, if it's something that's legitimate to get angry about, still you have to work on your anger, okay? If it's something really, a person caused you damage, other things, you could say a person has the right to be angry. Look what they did. What we said before, you got to see the bigger picture, as we always say. So if this happened, why did it happen? Now, we don't always know the answer. But you have to realize you're running after the stick. God's the one who actually put this person in your path. Use them as a messenger to get to you. So why are you getting angry? Why should you ever get angry? Right? But that would put a person in a situation that'd be impossible to uphold. Right? The reality is people get angry. The Mishnah does not say never get angry. It says don't get angry easily. There are people out there drop a vacuum get angry. They're out of control. Things bother them. Things trigger them. But here, very interesting. The main reason a person gets angry could be someone else dishonored them. But now what happens? You got angry. Person got angry. And then they went and did something worse than what the first person did. Not saying the first person doesn't deserve to be punished. Doesn't deserve discipline. Okay, but then you went and did 10 times, something 10 times worse. Over here. So what happened? So now you come back to the person, confront them. This person answered, is taken aback. This person answers in a very harsh manner. And then what happens? Situation explodes. Now, couldn't the situation explode anyway? Someone could ask that. Why not? Why couldn't the situation explode anyway? Okay? The wrongs don't make it right. Whatever the person did, let's just say for argument's sake, they're guilty. Right? Let's say 100% they're guilty. Okay, now, does that give you the right to answer back? Does that give you the right to tell them off? Some people would say, yes. There are situations that are aggravating. Right? That's true. They can be very aggravating. But does that give you a right to jump up and down, and lose control? Here in Israel, a lot of times if you don't yell, you don't get anything done. Because people take their time, they do other things, whatever, not necessarily looking out for your best interest. They dilly-dally and time goes by and they get frustrated. So what do people do? They're crusty on the outside, they'll start yelling. So on the other hand, you're gonna say, well, it's not so nice, speak nicely, yeah. Sometimes you speak nicely, you get taken advantage of. But sometimes you gotta speak up. That's not forbidden. Right? You're allowed to. I remember once, they're not, a person not getting the information they need, or other person on the other line to sort of dilly-dallying this and that. They start yelling. And things got done afterward. A person said, well, you don't have to yell about it. At the end of the day, you don't yell, things don't get done. I'm not saying it has to be that way. In the States, maybe other places, you have respect for the other person, okay. They have to do this or they have to do that, whatever their job is. Right. And then sometimes we feel we get shafted or something happened and, we need rectification. The situation needs to be fixed. Sometimes it can take a while for the situation to be fixed. Sometimes a lot of bureaucracy. Right? There could be a lot of bureaucracy. Right? So depending on what a person needs, it's aggravating. Imagine, you need something, you call this company and you're on the phone. 20 minutes, you're waiting for someone to pick up the phone. You're on hold. You're on hold for 10 minutes. You're on hold for 15 minutes. You really need something, and finally someone answers the phone. So, great. Say, hold on another 5 minutes. Like, all right, they come back. How can I help you? And then when it says, not my department, I have to, you have to speak to someone else or whatever. It could be, a frustrating experience, especially if a person's really in need. Right? There's bureaucracy everywhere. Some places better, some places worse. Right? So you need things done. You need things done. Doesn't always go the way you think. So what does that do? Gives us an opportunity, right? Gives us an opportunity to work on things. To work on anger, work on frustration. I say, what? God thinks we're Malchei Shareis. He thinks we're angels. We shouldn't be taken advantage of. That's true. But at the same time, you need information. You need to do what you can do. Can the situation be totally frustrating? Sure. Question is, how are you going to react? How are you supposed to react to it? Right? What are you going to do? Right? So here, someone did something to you. They dishonored you, let's say. Now you feel slighted. This will lead to Lashon Hara. You confront them, they scream back, situation implodes. Right? Situation implodes. So the question is, somebody asks, is it ever permissible to get angry? Right? Can it be justified? So yeah. We said it could be justified. It can be justified. The problem is that where's my emunah? Why don't I say that God's, or the evil inclination is putting the situation in front of me to lose control, to lose merits, to lose mitzvahs, cause other problems. Life is all a test, right? That's what the Ramchal said. Path of the just brings it down in Derech Hashem. We're in this life to be challenged. So we say every morning, don't bring me to challenge. I don't want challenge. Problem is, if you don't have challenges, you don't grow. You won't grow spiritually. That's catch-22. But I would say in general, if we look at the world in the way that, God's in control, then we have these challenges, whether we do it ourselves, or let's say for argument's sake, person has a certain challenge, God put it in front of them. See what they're going to do. So now you look at this challenge, you forget about the bigger picture. Why do you forget about the bigger picture? You're under stress. So if you're under stress, this thing exasperates it, you go nuts. Can happen. Person loses control. There's too many things going on. But what's the deeper thing behind it? What's the deeper thing over here? The deeper thing is what happened to your moon. What happened to realize, okay, it's a challenge. It could be an annoying challenge. At the same time, you got to work on it. So really, I would say anger in general is never justified. Why is it never justified? Because it's the story with the dog and the stick. That's the story. You're running after the stick. Well, someone's going to say, person said this, person did that. You're right. Doesn't make what they did right. There's one thing you can control over here. What's the one thing you can control? Your reaction. So you can answer them back and you can fly off the handle and this and that. Maybe that's what they want. They want to light you up. Or maybe they don't care. They just did something. Doesn't mean you don't have to rebuke them. There are times you have to give rebuke. Right? The Torah says, Leviticus chapter 19. Right? In Parshas Kedoshim, you have to give rebuke to your fellow man. It doesn't apply to a non-Jew. You have to rebuke a non-Jew, per se. Even to keep his own mitzvah. Well, that's not the topic. The idea is someone did something wrong. Now, saying over here, a person should get angry, per se. If I can rebuke them, if I know how to do rebuke, I know how to give rebuke, I should be able to rebuke them. Why not? Why would that be a problem? Shouldn't be a problem. You got to tell me in this generation we don't know how to rebuke. Okay, doesn't mean I'm exempt. It's a very, very complicated topic. Because people say we don't know how to rebuke in this generation, so you're exempt. Not necessarily. There are times you have to give rebuke even if no one listens. A complicated thing. Okay, giving a rebuke is one thing. They did something wrong. But I should get angry over it? Why should I get angry over it? You're going to say it's bad, it's disgusting. You're right. Person's negligent. Person's caused damage. They're liable. Nobody argues that. They're liable in that case. What's the difference? The difference is how you react to it. Now, can you react in a way where you totally lose control and you yell and scream and this and that? Sure. Your stories are lots. Road rage. Someone took your spot. Some people have been killed over this. And mind-boggling. Yeah. And people totally lose control. So you're gonna say that's stupid. Okay. But you don't know what went on in that person's life during that day or what's going on behind the scenes. True. Even if I don't know, isn't it true a person should always be in control? Not only that, you discipline a child. Can't discipline out of anger. The crime has to fit the punishment, cannot have knee-jerk reactions. A lot of times people react. Someone does something, they react. They don't think. They don't diffuse the situation. Someone says something, they go, bam! Say something straight away. Start up the whole thing. What we're saying is what's going on here. Why should a person do that? Why can a person not be in control? Why can't a person see the bigger picture and see that this person is a stick? And God's using them as a stick. Now, does that mean I have to see the bigger picture and just be taken advantage of? No. You're allowed to stick up for yourself. That's true. If someone made an egregious mistake, they have to try and fix it. They have an obligation to fix it. Let's say it can't be fixed. Then what's the outlook? What is the outlook? Let's say something can't be fixed. What's the proper Torah outlook? The proper Torah outlook is that I must have, I have to take the loss. Or I'm being punished in this way. That's the proper outlook. You're going to say, but this person was negligent, blah, blah. True. So we're going to say it doesn't matter. Person can be liable in this world, no question, let's say. But why do we look at what's in front of our face? Why do we not see the bigger picture? Why can't we look at the bigger picture? What's a simple answer? Someone will say, we're not holding there. No, should be. Because we deal with what's right in front of our face. Right? That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with what's in front of us. Someone can make an egregious mistake. Cost the person money, time, both. And we're running after the person. You're right. See, if we would say, well, God runs the world, so this person get off scot-free. Right? No. We don't say the person gets off scot-free. Not at all. The person's guilty. I have to go after them. Cosmic damage, they have to pay. If they don't have money, you work out a system, how they're going to pay you back, whatever it is. That you got an obligation. Otherwise, people get away with everything. What we're saying is, you're right, the person's guilty. Now they came into my life, caused damage. Is God going to take care of them? Yes. In this world, next world, God will take care of them. Not worried. What is our reaction, though? That is the question. How are we supposed to react? Nobody ever likes to lose money. No one ever likes to be inconvenienced. Right? This is the world of inconvenience. People do not like to be inconvenienced. Anyone in the process of conversion or it's a JIT. And I think, about Tshuva, someone who returns to Judaism, that didn't grow up religious as a Jew. Comes back to Judaism, I think it's all the same. Right? In the sense that other people, unless they're Bible thumpers, other people can have a certain level of respect for what you do. Doesn't apply to them, doesn't affect them in general. It's okay. You want to be a fanatic, you want to do all this, okay, it's your choice. What happens when now, because of your religion and your religiosity, what happens when now they are inconvenienced? That's when everything hits the fan. See, it's one thing you want to do what you want to do, okay. You're going to do all these ancient customs and, be a fanatic and all that and be worse than the Taliban, okay. It's your choice. But when it affects me, when now you won't come to my house and eat, you won't go out to dinner, these things change. Oh, that's different. That's different. Why? Because I'm now being inconvenienced. I don't want to be inconvenienced because of you and your religion and whatever. That's different. Otherwise, why can't people say live and let live? You have your beliefs, I have my beliefs. Life goes on. But they don't let it live. First of all, they're Bible thumpers. You're going to find out forever they're trying to convince you. Okay. If they're not Bible thumpers, they're atheists or who knows what. They're trying to convince you you're a fanatic and whatever, there's friction. But where does it really hit home, right? This is the litmus test, right? This is what I always say. And that is, one of the times you get together with family, not a religious holiday, let's say an American Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a good time to get together, right? Not really idolatry. There are, I've heard some say, Then when the holiday started, it was very idolatrous, but most rabbinic authorities hold not that way. It's a day about football in Turkey, not necessarily in that order. Okay. So imagine now you want to get together with family. Right, Thanksgiving a time for family. You can actually go because there's no holidays during the week, whatever, end of the week, whatever it is, fine. Not a problem. Not a problem. What's the issue? What's the issue? You're going to come with your own food. That's the issue. That's one issue. So then, wherever you're going, they'll say, what? Can't eat my food? You're not even Jewish yet. You're keeping all these things, you're not even Jewish yet. Like, you won't even eat my food, they take offense. I mean, maybe the food is the greatest thing since sliced cheese. I don't know. Right? But they take offense. Be one of the first things they'll take offense at. It's a good test. It's a good test. Because, people will tolerate behavior as long as it doesn't affect them. Once it affects them, you won't eat with them. Where they go, you won't go out to eat with them. You won't eat their food in their house. They get offended. Someone will ask, is that my fault? No. You have to do what the Torah says. Right? That's it. You're not gonna make you're not gonna make people happy. Right? You're not gonna make people happy. I would say, and again, just think about this. And that is, it's not about making people happy. It's not about life being fair either. You do what you got to do. You make compromises where you can. If you have to. And if there's certain things you can't compromise on, what do? Nothing to do. There's absolutely nothing to do. So what happens? Right? So what happens? You have to realize whatever you have to do when it comes to Torah mitzvahs, whether you're a Jew or a non-Jew, right, or Jew in training, whatever it is, you got to do what God says. Now people are going to be offended by that at some point, maybe. What do? Is there anything to do? Well, the person has to worry that person got angry. No. You're doing what you need to do. You're doing what the Torah says. You have to worry what people think. They don't have to like it. My Rebbe would say, then go eat kugel. Okay, they don't like it. So I'm out there to, please everybody. Who says I got an obligation to do something? To the best of my ability. What if you can't? What if certain situations people are going to get offended? What are you going to do? Nothing to do. So there's no point. No point over here. Why are you going to get aggravated? There's no point to get aggravated. A lot of times also, just throw this out there. A lot of times when we get aggravated, guess what? In the end, it all works out somehow. So no point. We're getting aggravated, losing sleep, and this and that. And God said, what do you think? I'm not here? You don't think I can take care of your needs? God shows in the end, look, I'm still here. So I'm still here. So one thing I would say is, yeah, we get annoyed. People do things, people say things. But at the end of the day, what happened to our Amunah? What happened to our Amunah B'Tachon? What happened to our faith and belief in God over here? You're going to say, I'm obligated to be a dish rag and be stomped on all the time? No. You're not obligated to be a dish rag. If someone's bothering you and these things are going on, to test. There are certain people, the Gemara says, were bothering Rebbe Meir. So what did he want? He wanted these people to die. Right? They were bothering him. So the wife said, well, I want them to die. When do you pray that they should repent? Test. But we don't see the bigger picture. So in some ways we get angry for nothing. Seemingly for nothing. See, the problem is something happens, we get caught up in it. How's this gonna work? How's that gonna work? It's aggravating. Okay. But what's the bigger picture? That we always say God's the one in control. God is absolutely the one in control. So either we did it to ourselves or he's putting us in a situation to see how we're going to react. Now the question is, okay, back to the question, can anger be justified? Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock. Yeah. What was the problem here? God told him to speak to the rock. God wanted him to speak to the rock. That would have made a greater Kiddush Hashem. Greater sanctification of God's name. Water comes out of the rock. So it only trickled a little bit. Right? So whatever level he got angry, he hit the rock. At whatever level. It wasn't justified. God didn't tell him to hit the rock. He hit the rock. The water started gushing. Very good. What's the problem? I mean, this is very hard to understand. What's the problem? God did not tell him to hit the rock. Isn't it just a bigger miracle if he spoke to the rock or he hit the rock? Seemingly. The same miracle. Right? The same thing. You speak to the rock, you hit to the rock, water comes out. Right? You can try this at home. Speak to a rock and the water, any water coming out? No water. Then you bash the rock, and all of a sudden water comes out. That's not miraculous. That's miraculous. Also miraculous. He wanted greater sanctification of God's name, Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? But it's very hard to understand why he got penalized. It wasn't just he got flustered and hit the rock at his level. It was just an equal. You could say it's just an equal, if not greater. He hit the rock and water came out. That's not miraculous. Of course, it's miraculous. But he said, you didn't listen to me. You and Aaron didn't listen to me. You didn't sanctify my name the way I wanted. What would we have said? Water came out of the rock itself. What do I care? He spoke to it, he hit it. What's the difference? Comes along in God and he says he didn't listen to what he wanted to do. Even if it was the sanctification of his name. He didn't listen. So yeah, that got the best of it. Right? That got the best of it. So whatever level, he got angry at, he got seriously punished. But you see, there were times Moshe Rabbeinu got angry and he was justified. Comes down by the sin of the golden calf. He's angry. He's like, Aaron, what's going on here? Wasn't just asking. He understood what was going on. He said, how could you let this happen? You could say they're having a discussion. Yeah, but there's something deeper going on. What are the repercussions going to be? I mean, there are ways to say things without getting angry. That's true. What about canals? Canals means people translate as being a fanatic, right? Sometimes the kanoi means like they're jealous for God, right? They do things that are not justified, right? Who was one of the biggest kanoim out there? It was Pinchas. It was always zealotry. That's what we call it. Zealotry. Did he do what he did out of anger? If he would have done it out of anger, would have been punished. Right? He takes the head of the tribe. Right? He takes Zimri, Cosby Batsor, who kicked his clay, doing the jitterbug, and he shush kebab them. Right? He takes a spear, kills them, right in the act. Now, if he would have been killed, would have been justified. He's called the Rodef, called the pursuer. Would have been justified killing him. Gemara Sanhedrin tells us a number of miracles that happened. But it wasn't out of anger. Because it's brought down if he would have done it out of anger. if you had a 1% anger ratio to Zimri or to Cosby Batsur, right, he would have been severely punished. Had to be done 100% l'shem shamayim for the sake of heaven. That wasn't anger, right? Not only that, people say, I'll just throw this out there. People say it's a fanatic. Look, took the law into their own hands. But people forget. Read the beginning of the parsha. The beginning of the parsha, he goes to Moshe Rabbeinu himself and says, Rebbe, what's the halach in such a case? You see a non-Jew and a Jew doing the jitterbug in public. What's the halacha? Moshe Rabbeinu forgot what the halacha was. Pinchas remembered and he killed him. And my language is shishka about them. He killed him. What do I see from this? That's not zealotry in the sense where that's not a vigilante. That's not vigilanteism. Why not? Because he didn't act on his own. He remembered what the halacha was. But before he did, he asked the question, what am I allowed to do over here? Sorry, what is the halacha? Right? People seem to forget about that. Oh, he acted on his own. When he knew what the halacha was, that's what he did. But before he knew what the halacha was, he asked Moshe Rabbeinu. He said, Rebbe, what's the din? What's the halacha over here? Didn't act on his own. And there are people today do things what they'll call for zealotry. Yeah. A non-religious woman walks in an ultra-Orthodox neighborhood, not dressed, let's say, appropriately. If someone goes up to her, attacks her, and throws acid in her face, that makes it permissible? Zealotry for the sake of heaven. Yeah, got this question a number of times. Why would a person do such a thing? Because they're a fanatical nut. That's why. They took the law in their own hands. So where was their Rebbe? You think they asked the Rebbe a question if it was permissible to throw acid in someone's face? I doubt it. And even when there are protests against the government, Rebbe says many, many times, you want to protest? Very good. You're allowed to protest. What gives you the right to burn property or damage property? So you get rabble-rousers who like to go to these things, and destroy property. Or gives them the right. Even public property, doesn't matter. Talking about public property. What gives them the right? Isn't that in essence causing damage? Sure. Oh, you're going to tell me there's no disagreement of opinion. The land of Israel is considered the law of the land, where a lot of these things don't apply. We can say it doesn't apply. Okay, so what? Even if it is. Even if there's no law of the land, quote unquote, in the land of Israel, that gives you the right to damage property. Or they give you the right to damage property. Rabbi says this over and over and over again. You want to go out and protest? Go protest. Yeah? You got a right to protest things that are going wrong and this and that. Good? Go protest. What's the problem? You want to protest, don't cause damage. You don't have to cause damage. So that's a desecration of God's name. So people say, oh, but they have a right. Look what the government's doing. This, that. Okay. So what? You have a right to protest. Even though a lot of rabbinical authorities say that's not the way today, but okay. Right? My Rebbe would disagree. That's not the topic here. He's not the only one. The others say the same thing. That's not the topic. The point is, okay, you want to protest, you absolutely have a right to protest. You want to damage property? Who gives you the right to damage property? Who gives you the right? Yeah, saying they're doing it for the sake of heaven. You think these people are asking a question whether it's permissible, to cause damage to public property? They're not asking questions. They're doing what they want to do. You got people that are, look religious, but there's nothing so religious about them. They get all excited and riled up and this and that. Gets their energy out. Great. Makes us look really bad. You want to protest? Protest. Very good. Well, what gives you the right? Gives you the right to cause damage, property? Who says? Who says? Yeah. So in this case, by Moshe Rabbeinu, very hard to understand. Very, very hard to understand because the obvious question is, he hit the rock. Fine. Water came out, just miraculous. The point is, yeah, you got flustered. You want to make a bigger sanctification of God's name. Very good. What's the problem? God said, until you do that. I told you to speak to the rock. Now you're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu's level here. God says, as Torah tells us, he didn't listen. You didn't believe in me. You didn't sanctify my name. Question, what do you mean you didn't sanctify his name? Water came off of the rock. That's not sanctification of his name. It's also sanctification of his name. He didn't do what God told him to do. He didn't listen. That's what the Torah said. For that, he doesn't deserve to go into the land. I mean, there were other explanations, one possible explanation. And Moshe Rabbeinu prays hundreds of prayers to get in. God tells him, stop. I'm not letting you in. But never gave up hope. Nonetheless, he didn't get in. He didn't get in. So the reality is, he did something God didn't want him to do. At his level, he didn't listen. You know, there is what to be said, and this is a little bit different. There is what to be said, a sin for the sake of heaven. Right? You see, well, we'll just use one example again, we'll keep this clean. You see by Yael in Sisera. Yael gives him wine to drink, cheese, and gets very sleepy. And she has relations with him a number of times, tires him out. No question how she's allowed to do that. It's a good question. But when he's, passed out, she kills him. She kills him, and basically his army flees. So that's what we call the Vero Lishma. She sinned for the sake of heaven. Saved the Jewish people. Of course, if you're allowed to do such a thing, obviously, in this case, she was. Different ways out of the problem. But, without getting into that. That's a different issue. That's a different issue. But if a person's going to be zealous for God for the sake of heaven, very good, but it better be for the sake of heaven. In the case of Pinchas, if he would have had 1% hatred, 1% against Zimri, he wouldn't have been allowed to do what he did. That type of zealotry has to be 100%. 100%. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. So that's what I would say about that. Need a lot of patience. That is true. There are times, a person, let's say, really needs something. Need it right now, and the store is about to close. Right? You get there, it's a few minutes afterwards, say, sorry, can't help you. Say, no, I really need it, whatever. What's the problem? Store's closed. Now, say maybe sometimes people let you in after hours, this, that. Okay. Well, let's say the person said, nope, store's closed, I can't help you. No, but I really need this, and it's very important, but doesn't matter. See the sign on the door? Store's closed. Now, they have a right? Sure. Do they have a right to go beyond the letter of the law? Who says they have to? Maybe some will. Who says they're obligated to? Maybe they'll get in trouble if they do. I don't know. Whatever it may be. But you're in dire straits. You really need this right now. You really need this right now. So what happens? You rip Rory Met. Or even better. Like here in Israel, a lot of times buses leave on the dot. Whatever the time is, that's when they leave. Sometimes before. At times I was up north a few times. Right? I made it to the bus station, and the bus is getting ready to pull out. So I run through, go through the door, and the bus wouldn't stop. Now, at that point, do they have an obligation to stop as they're pulling out? No. They don't have an obligation to stop. But they see you coming after the bus. They're not out of the station. You're right there. You're right there, 10 feet away. And they keep driving. Now you could say, they don't have to stop. Now you're going to tell me, when's the next bus? Another hour and a half. Because it's an hour and 20 minutes, let's say. Now I got to sit there and wait an hour and 20 minutes, but you were right there. Isn't that frustrating? Could be. But over time, doing this sometimes, I made it sometimes, I didn't make it sometimes. Whatever it was. I'll tell you what my mentality was. My mentality was, if I was supposed to make it, I'll make it. There were times I never thought I would make it, I made it. There were times I thought I was going to make it, I didn't make it. Okay. Murphy's Law. Murphy-Stein's Law over here. Okay. At the end of the day, unless I was really pressed, and I really need to make this bus. Okay. So yeah, there were times the HR got the best of me. Okay. But a lot of the times, okay, if I'm supposed to make it, I'll make it. If not, I'm not. What are you going to do? It's a test. Life is a test to work on your patience. Right? So let's ask another question. What does it help you to get angry in this point? The bus is leaving. You didn't make it. Now what are you going to do? You're stuck. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. I remember once there was a bus that there were protests. So one of the main roads got got blocked off. So what happened? I take a different bus. Different bus going in a different direction. Then I take another bus, whatever, once I got there. So instead of getting, it took me 2 extra hours to get back. At least. Now give or take about 2 hours. Was that in my control? Can I control people protesting there? No. Can I control whether there's an accident on the road and they shut off the road for an hour? Can I control that? No. What's the only thing you can control? Reaction. That's the only thing you have the power to control. All right. So I remember I had a wedding to go to, and it's very ironic. It was very ironic that I said, I caught the right bus. So I'll get there. Okay, I'll stay a little bit. I had an obligation to go, really an obligation to go. And it wasn't far from, where I got off at the bus station. Very good. What happened? Major accident on one of the roads, on that road for an hour and a half. Couldn't move. Stuck on that road. So an hour and 40-minute drive, which was less because of all the stops, but let's say an hour and 40 minutes took almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. So when I got back, I had no energy to go. At that point, I had no energy to go. Right? Okay. I did my best. If everything would have worked, I would have gone. But, you could get aggravated. Well, what's aggravation going to help you? You're stuck on the highway. The only problem was, if you need to go to the bathroom, okay. The highway was shut down. So some people need to go to the bathroom. So the bus driver opened the door. They crossed the highway. He said, just be careful coming back. He let them out. What they say, you gotta go. He's stuck in this bus for 3 hours. Not expected. See, that's when it hits us more, things that we don't expect. That's the big test. If it's something you expect, okay, so you gotta deal with it. You deal with it in different ways, however you're gonna deal with it. But problem is we get caught off guard. The Yetzer Hara, evil inclination, is very good at that. He won't catch you when you're prepared. He'll catch you when you're not prepared. And then when you're not prepared, what happens? You get flustered. Person gets flustered. You'll say it's a normal reaction. So that's the whole question here. Is that really a normal reaction? The normal reaction should be, Chovos HaLevavos says, God runs the world. You've been given now a challenge. Understand, God wants you to be challenged at this point. Why? Could be for any number of reasons. Right? But now you're blaming the bus driver. The bus driver took off this, that. He saw you in the rearview mirror running after it and he didn't care. So you're aggravating the bus driver. Okay. Yeah. And if you would have seen the bus driver's evil inclination waving at you, or maybe sticking some fingers up at you or whatever, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So the mentality, okay, so I'll get back, a couple hours later, but what's the problem? Problem is you're right there. You're right there. There were a number of times I was coming into the bus station, I saw the other bus going out. Nothing to do, because there's no other place, I couldn't get off the bus. No other place to get off the bus, catch it. Okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to say, it's aggravating, I had to be here, I made this, that. Okay. Right? A lot of times we're tested when we're not prepared. And you got to be prepared. But if you follow the advice of the Chovos HaLevavos and duties of the heart, you're always prepared. Why are you always prepared? Because you understand God runs the world. You understand He's the one in charge. Right? So whatever happens, doesn't matter. You are prepared. You're not going to get flustered. And a lot of times we get flustered. We mentioned, person's under stress. They're under duress. Something you didn't expect at all. I remember someone made a plan here in Israel to go somewhere, and they thought it was the next day. But the reality was it was that day. Right? Or the day before, they thought it was 2 days later, it was the next day. Like, well, I wasn't prepared. I was prepared to go in 2 days. So someone said, okay, now prepare for going tomorrow. Change your mentality. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Our mentality has to change. We have to know how to react. So we always say it's always good to know what to do. That's the hardest part, right? Is to know what to do. But once you know, let's say, you know what to do, now the question is how you're supposed to react. And again, person can be in dire straits, person needs the store to be open, person needed this, person needed that, person needs a transaction to go through, the banks are closed, right? What are you going to do? So you got to make other arrangements, right? Other than, okay, we get, this is a very weak cream puff generation. We get flustered at our level over almost nothing. Previous generations, they were fleeing for their lives on a regular basis. There was so much upheaval, so much discrimination, so many other things. We're living in the lap of luxury. They didn't have food, they didn't have money, they were persecuted. I mean, we're living in the lap of luxury today. Some more, some less, it doesn't matter. We're living a lot better than they did. That doesn't mean mentally we're better than them. They were much stronger mentally. Much stronger. Because they understood how the world works. They understood what's the most important thing. We're caught up in distractions. 100%. Imagine you go to the store, they don't have your favorite candy bar, you go nuts. Start yelling, where's that candy bar? What do you mean you're out? What do you mean you're out? During Corona, it's funny, right before Passover, there was a shipment of eggs supposed to come in from Spain, didn't come. Huge shipment of eggs. Or whatever, it didn't come. There was a shortage of eggs. Passover is the worst time to be there, a shortage of eggs. Because eggs go into everything. I remember friends of ours, the last day of the festival, they had 1 egg left. They're like, what should we use it for? Should we use it for this? Should we use it for that? I mean, it's a joke. In any store that had eggs, everybody ran to try and get at least a box of eggs, a carton of eggs. It's crazy. I remember one of my kids, he heard that there were eggs a certain place. Okay, we're number like, I don't know, 211, they had a whole shipment of whatever. Didn't get eggs. Got there, didn't get eggs. It's crazy. Then you can only take a certain amount, even if they had eggs. It was like an insane time. An absolute insane time. Okay, you put your best foot forward, what are you going to do? And if you don't have eggs, it's aggravating because almost everything you make is with eggs. So what do? Change your mentality. You got to change your mentality the way God wants us to. And that's not always easy. That's not always easy. In different ways. Because we want everything to go like clockwork. We use the human body as an example. One thing gets clogged up, something in your body goes off, the whole body suffers. But do we stop and think? Do we stop and think when the body does function on a regular basis? the body, the body's taking care of its needs, and all that, that we're so thankful. We're, a lot of times we're only thankful once certain things go wrong. And once certain things go wrong, body aches and, you can't function so well. That's when we realize. Why should a person have to, something has to go wrong before they realize what they have? Because sometimes you can't enjoy what you have unless you don't have it. You can't see the good, you can't see the good unless you realize what you didn't have before. Take things for granted. Can't take things for granted, right? Health being one of them, right? The major thing you never take for granted because you don't know. I was just reading something earlier, the fact that we swallow, I think like 600 times a day, and it's pretty miraculous we don't choke on a regular basis, right? Because there's a flap on the esophagus that closes. Otherwise, you choke to death. You choke all the time. When we think about that, no. We eat, we drink. Sometimes something goes down, down the wrong pipe, as we would call it. Okay, right? Nonetheless, we don't even think about that. We don't even think about it. And the way the body functions. I read a story, someone I know, unbelievable story, complications from COVID. He was young, he was in his mid-40s. And he was on an ECMO for 2 months. Right, they basically incubated for 2 months. Yeah, between life and death. When he came out of it, when he finally came out of it, he started getting back to normal a little bit. But it was in a coma for 2 months. So his body totally atrophied. They sat him up, he fell right over. Almost. They had to catch him. He had to reuse functions of his body that he didn't use for 2 months. And even, when he's still on, oxygen and this and that, just be able to say blessings. Just to be able, just to be able to, use the facilities himself instead of a catheter. It's huge. But why does someone, I'm not saying this person, but saying why in general, when you read a story like that, then it jars memories. Then it jars memories. Look, plumbing works, everything's good, this, that. It's not that we take it for granted, we don't think about it. We don't think about it unless, unless we don't have it, unless there are problems. Take someone who won't get gross hair. Take someone who's constipated. Yeah. Person constipated 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Person feels gross, got to get this stuff out of your system. This didn't work, that didn't work, that thing didn't work. Then all of a sudden something works, and you're like, oh, you feel so much better. No one's been in that situation. Yeah, we take that for granted also. Then we take that for granted. So, a lot of things, it's patience. It's patience, reaction, and how we see the bigger picture. Because if you're not able to see the bigger picture, every little thing will fluster you. Right? I know people like that. Any little thing. Light bulb goes, gotta get it done. What's gonna be? There's less light in this room. Okay, get to it. Remember someone saying that to me. The light bulb went on. I said, yeah, I saw that. They said, you're going to fix it? I said, eventually. Go to the store, get another light bulb. Whatever. They're like, it's not a priority. I'm like, I'll get to it. But they're like, you're going to fix it. Is there light? I see light here. Could it be brighter? Yeah. Could be brighter. Get other lights to put. Okay. But there are people, any little thing goes wrong there. They're flustered. Imagine something major goes wrong. Something major goes wrong. How do they deal with it? They wait for it to pass. They hope it passes, or they'll say, fix it. Whatever it is, fix it. Some things cannot be fixed so quickly. But that's a test. For this generation, you'll say these are minor things. These are minor things. Why do people get, some people get so exasperated over it, this and that? They do. They don't know how to work on patience. They want everything done. They want everything fixed. They want everything to be the way it should. Well, it doesn't always work that way. Some things are complicated. Right? So it's a test over here. Right? So a lot of it has to do, as someone here pointed out, a lot of it is to get our reaction. how are we going to react? In such a situation. Now, some things could be worse. Some things 100% could be worse. Could be, could be very, very stressful. You're right. Even if it's very, very stressful, the mantra is God's the one in control. Should never, ever lose sight of the fact that God runs the world. And that if a person in a situation, you say, God, take care of it. I know you're going to take care of it. You're the one in charge. That's the mantra. Someone asked, we give kavod and blessed to tzaddikim. Is allowed to curse wicked people? Right? Is it allowed to do pulsa denura? Yeah, if you're a great rabbi, that's one thing. If you're not a great rabbi, you don't curse anyone. You don't do a pulsa denura. That's something we do. God will take care of evil people. He'll take care of them. Right? We say a number of times in Shmona Esrei, silent meditation. Right? We say that God will take care of the wicked. I should curse the wicked. I'm not going to curse them. God will take care of them. I mean, we don't necessarily have to do war with them. I'm not saying physical. Protest things that they do. For sure, cursing, who says? Who says we're allowed to curse anyone? Even wicked people. God will take care of them. Right? King David himself says in the book of Psalms, I love those that love you. I fight against those that hate you. Doesn't say I curse them. Doesn't say you're allowed to curse. Who says you're allowed to curse? The Torah in this week's parsha says there is a blessing and a curse. Yeah, that curse is because we don't do what we're supposed to do. It doesn't give the right someone to do it. Perfect. There are stories. I mean, more like legends, not known if it's true or not. Right? That certain evil people that were given a pulsa denura. This curse, but it's not verifiable that they did it. Because you see certain things, like give an example. You see the Kennedy family in Boston. A lot of tragedies. I mean, the patriarch of the family, rabid anti-Semite. No question about it. Right? Joe Kennedy, absolute rabid anti-Semite. Yeah. Some say, in the name of one or two great rabbis, they gave him a curse because of all the things he did against the Jews. Now, is that true? I don't know. Right? Hasn't been verification. Not been verification. Now, could be sometimes that may need to be done. Right? But you have to be on that level to do it and to know when and this and that. It's not for the average Joe or the Jewish people go around cursing people. It's not what we do. Right? Just like we said before in the neighborhood of Rebbe Meir, people were bothering him, so he prayed that they should die. His wife chastised him and said, what are you praying for them to die? You should pray for them to repent. He also could have done that, could have cursed them. Right? Not a good thing to curse people. I'm not talking about, full letter words. I'm talking about using God's name and all that. Right? So no. Under certain circumstances with, Torah giants, okay, that's a different issue. They're on a different level. They're on a totally different level. Yeah, otherwise, those things shouldn't be touched. What's the highest level? What's the highest level but able to control it? Anger is something where it's up there with being conceited, with gaiva, right? That it's something you don't find a middle path. Right? The Rambam says, with a lot of things, a lot of character traits, you find the middle path. Not while you're not being conceited and not anger. There's no middle path in anger. Now, I would say that sometimes you have to discipline a child. And when you discipline a child, you have to look stern. You might even have to look angry. But I think the Rambam there says, even if you're going to look angry, you better 100% have no anger in your body. In other words, you discipline without anger. And sometimes we just get angry and we discipline. You can't do that. Because the child, the punishment has to meet out against what the child did. So if that's true, you can't punish out of anger. It's forbidden. Forbidden to punish out of anger. But he says, if you have to look anger to scare the child or to discipline the child, 100% should not be 1 ounce of anger in your body. Not one. That's how bad it is. Now, someone will say, well, isn't it true? Isn't it true? We said that the Mishnah over here does not say you should never get angry, right? That's something very hard to do. It says do not anger easily. So if you have to get angry, minimize it at best. Don't let it consume you. Anger consumes a person. And there are people drop off a hat will get angry over silly things. So I would say, that tick them off. Okay, so you have to see what do you call it? What is triggering the anger? Right? In other words, why is the person getting angry over this? So you have to understand what triggers it, first of all, and then how to deal with it. That's what I would say. So, right, so the highest level is we should never get angry. That's for sure. It doesn't mean you're a dish rag over here. It doesn't mean you allow someone to do whatever they want and they're allowed to take advantage of you. No one says that. No one says that. See, there's a difference. Someone can give rebuke. Someone can give very strong rebuke. That's not anger. Right? People mistake that as being angry. Or person, answering someone, whatever, like, oh, you think you're God's gift to the world, and they think you're conceited. Right? And let's say you're not. You just gave an answer, whatever. It's like, oh, you think you know better than this and that. Yeah, that's not being conceited. If you say, listen, I have an answer that do you want to, like, oh, you think you got all the answers, you think this, all of a sudden you've been brainwashed and now you're God's gift to the world. No, I have an answer. Right? You might not like it, but there's an answer. If you want to hear it, that doesn't make you conceited. Being confident does not make you conceited. But, what's the opposite? What's the opposite of being conceited? The opposite of being conceited is humility. Right? That's where it starts. That's how you beat it. That's how you beat it. Is to show humility. Because the person can say, like, I heard an 18-year-old, 19-year-old tell me I'm holding better than 95% of world jewelry. And I said, let's say I agree with that. I want to say God doesn't, and you have higher potential. So what? So what if you know a lot more than 90% of world jewelry? It doesn't mean anything. Right? Because 90% of world jewelry, let's say, they can barely read the alphabet. They don't know anything. So who are you comparing yourself to? I hold according to morality, up to a point. And I'm more moral than most people in this generation. Okay, so let's say it's true. Let's say, yeah. Are there higher levels to reach? Yeah. What are you comparing yourself to? You're living in the world of Sodom. So now you're going to say I'm so righteous? Because again, you have to have self-confidence. Don't get me wrong. You have to have self-confidence. You have to feel good about what you do. But at the same time, you can't have gaiva. You can't be conceited. Feeling good about what you do doesn't mean you're conceited. You prayed today. You celebrated the way you should. You learned the way you should. You did okay. But we said before, why is the person going to think they have such great knowledge? Mishna, Pirke Avos says that's what you're created to do. So why are you going to think you're so great? That's what you're created to do. Right? If you're a Jew, that's what you're obligated to do. You're obligated to learn Torah and keep its mitzvahs. That's what you're supposed to do. Oh, you learned a lot of Torah, you learned this, you learned that, whatever. The question is, you're always skimming off the top. It's only a drop in the ocean. Right? It's a drop in the bucket over here compared to what we should know. Okay. That doesn't mean you can't feel good. And have self-esteem. Doesn't mean that. But self-esteem should not necessarily lead to being conceited. Let's see. The person, everything. Some of the curse would happen against Biden. Well, he's got his own problems. Definitely got his own problems. See if he gets out of it or not. Yeah, I don't think he needs anyone to curse him. I think he's in trouble himself. But we'll see where that goes without getting into politics. Somebody mentioned some of the Baruch is care and even love for the person. Right. America would say we should love rebuke. We should love judgment. We should love rebuke. Yeah, what's the problem? What's the obvious problem? Who likes to get rebuked? Who likes to be told they did something wrong? I don't think too many people. Right? But rebuke, you have to remember, has to come from love. That's where rebuke should come from. It should come from absolute love. It should come from you're trying to help the person, right? You should definitely try. That's your goal. Trying to put them down. Looking down on them. All kinds of things. Fine. That's a different issue. That's definitely a different issue. But you gotta be careful over here, right? You got to be careful. So, rebuke can certainly help, but you have to realize where it's coming from. If it's coming out of love and they want you to change, or they want you to be better, or they expect better things, right? How many times, a person said, you're better than this, you're bigger than this, right? Your answer could be, you're right, I'm still not doing it because it's just too hard to do, right? In general. But, at the same time, I would say you got to realize one thing. And that is, that there are people who do not want to hear what they do is wrong. We want to think what we do is right. Now, if it's coming out of love, and it's coming out of a place where they're looking out for your best interest, sometimes it'll sting, and it may sting a lot, but when you think about it, and you know why they're saying it, it's a different issue. It's not, if someone's saying things just to get under your skin, or they're making fun, or they're doing other things, that's a different issue. That's a different issue. Right? So I would say, like, even people who say things that they shouldn't say, and they're obnoxious, and they make fun and all that, right? Let's say. So you say it's annoying. Good. Gets under our skin because we believe in Torah mitzvahs, want to live it to the highest level, all this. Very good. It's annoying. You want to put them in their place. They're showing disrespect. Okay. Now let's say I agree 100%. Let's say it's 100% true. So again, best advice I've ever been given, pretty much, is you have to look at this person like they're mentally challenged. And if they got a 25 IQ, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not really going to care that much. Because they have a 25 IQ. I don't care if they have a PhD, pilot iron deep, or a Papa as dough. I don't care what level of knowledge they think they have in other things or whatever. In this case, they don't really know very much. They're trying to get under your skin. They're asking stupid things or making fun. You just go pink. Now you're going to say, it's painful. We mentioned this many times. Person's mentally challenged. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a parent. I don't care if it's a child. It can be painful. It can be very painful. Or a sibling. When they make fun and they say things and whatever. So you got to decide, how valuable is that relationship? Doesn't mean I have to have, connection with such a person. But, I got someone say, we tell people not to have contact with families. It depends. Depends what it is. If it's very toxic, yeah. You need aggravation, like you need another hole in the head, right? Most people have enough in their life. They don't need any more. But, if it's toxic, it's bad. It's bad. So I wouldn't tell people just get rid of relationships left and right. It depends. There could be a bad relationship. You need to be in that relationship. Let's say it's you have a relationship with bad relationship with a sibling. Yeah, let's say. And your parents are still alive. Right? So you want to make sure, to the best of your ability, parents are still alive. The parents are still alive. They don't do anything to kill them. Yeah. So it could be there's justification there. Right? Even though you might not have the greatest relationship, you have enough of a relationship that, you might not be able to stop it, per se. But you do whatever you can so don't kill them. That could be one reason to have such a relationship. It's a bad relationship. You're right. So minimize the relationship, be on somewhat talking terms, right? Minimize that relationship. And once you and you're utilizing that relationship for a different reason. Right? What's the reason? You want to make sure they don't kill your parent. Right? Or whatever, right? So that's justified. Not, it could be unpleasant, but there could be certain reasons to have these type of connections. Other times, if you didn't have that reason, there's no point to having a connection. I'd say, it's not worth it. It depends. It's always very sad. I think that's very true. But what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Nothing to do. Sometimes. So, you have to see where the rebuke is coming from also. Right? In other words, if someone's coming and says they want to help you. They want to help you in many ways. Okay. But you just don't want to hear it. And I think most people do not want to hear what they do is wrong. Even if the person means the best for them. They are not interested to hear they did this wrong or that wrong or the other thing. And what they need to do to change. Might be hard for them to change. Yeah. It hits them right in the heart. It stings. So some people will say, yeah, I love being told the truth. Okay. There'll be people that just, tell me the truth, no matter how hard it is. Right? We'll deal with it. Okay. There are other people, they want it to be a little bit cushioned. They don't want to be hit straight in the head. So, some people like that. Some people enjoy just where they've come from. They want answers. And even if it's hard for them, and even if certain things don't go their way or whatever, that they make unpopular decisions. See, it's very easy when no one interferes in our lives and everything is good. It's very easy to want to keep Torah mitzvahs, even certain things we don't understand as well, whatever. Okay. When everything hits the fan, and this one's against you, that one's against you, and other things going wrong, and other parts of your life makes it much more difficult. A lot more stress. Right? A lot more stress. Right? So, even if we hear rebuke from people who are able to give rebuke, right? Mentors, rabbis, others, sometimes it's hard to hear. Right? I tell people this all the time. Sometimes it's just very hard. But there are people who say it doesn't matter, right? I'll deal with it. However I deal with it, just give it to me straight. So some people it's easier, some people it's harder. But at the end of the day, a person has to see, where it comes from. They're doing it out of love, out of compassion, so to speak, to try and help. But a lot of times, see, we have an ego, or as we would say, an ego here in Israel. Person, they don't want to be told. They're trying the best of ability, this and that. They don't want to be hammered over the head. They don't say, oh, you're doing great at this, you're doing great at that. This you really need to work on. This is really problematic, and this and that, whatever. Okay. People have, in order for people to hear rebuke, they have to be built up also. But they have to know also it's coming from a genuine source. It's coming out of concern. It's coming out of love, even if it comes over harsh. I'm just reading something by great Rabbi in Brooklyn, just passed away last week. Of Aaron Schechter, blessed memory. And there were times that, he had to say certain things, to certain people. But he did it in a loving way. He did it in a way where people could hear. Right? You don't just hammer someone. I mean, even if you have to tell them something, you gotta be, you gotta be careful. Because the Torah says in that verse, you have an obligation to rebuke your people. Right? Your people. I think that's the way the verse goes, that shouldn't come to sin. Meaning, if you rebuke somebody, it doesn't give you the right to embarrass them. Right? Totally doesn't give you the right to embarrass them. So you should not bear the sin. Right? Obligated to rebuke, don't bear the sin. What does it mean, don't bear the sin? It means you got to be careful. It means you might have an obligation to rebuke, even if they're not going to listen, doesn't give you the right to embarrass them. That's a different issue. Totally different issue. Rebuke's a hard thing, right? Rebuke's a hard thing. But I'm saying in a case where, a person got rebuked, someone looking out for their own interests, okay. I'm not, some people, they can take it easy. For other people, any rebuke they hear, they have to digest it. They have to hear it. They have to see how it applies to them. And then, and even if it does, they have to do something to try and fix whatever it is. That's hard. Change is hard. Even if you got an obligation to do it, sometimes it's hard because we're creatures of habit. We don't want to change. I remember a story. Someone said, they think they have, good relationship with one of their kids. But the kid thinks otherwise. Kid thinks, whatever they think. So now, who's got the better eyes to see it? The parent or the child? Usually the parent. Right, let's say. So now the child comes with certain claims. Even if you think they're not true, and you say, but, I'm not doing that, or this, or that. But if that's what the child feels, and the parent has to go out of the way to try and rectify it. Now, you may say, that's not the reality situation. Maybe it's not, according to you. But the child's saying, again, and they think they're justified in their eyes. So now you got to work it out according to the way they see, not the way you see. Because King Solomon says in Proverbs, right, Chanoch l'nar al pi darko. You got an obligation to educate your child according to darko, his will, his way, literally. Does not say darki. Does not say my way. Doesn't say educate him according to the way I think. You got to educate him what he needs to do or what she needs to do in their way. Doesn't mean you don't skip on Torah mitzvahs and this and that. But, not everyone gets educated and reacts the same way. Right? I mean, they get educated in the same way, let's say, but the reaction's different in many ways. So you have to work with them according to what they can hear, not according to what you think they can hear. Right? You make mistakes along the way, okay. But you want to educate them the way they need to be educated, not the way you think. So, there are people that want to send, let's say, their kids to the best yeshivas, the best names, and this and that. The kid's not holding them. It's a prestige for the parent. Okay. Very good. It's a prestige for the parent. The kid's going to drown. The kid won't make it. It'll be a disaster. But the parent may force the issue because they want the prestige. But they're not looking at it from the right, from the right eyes. They're not looking at it from their kid's perspective. Their kid will drown. I don't care about my kid. I want him to get in. I want to get into the best place. Yeah, but it's not good for them. It's not going to be good for them in the end. No matter what the name is. It's not good for them. It's going to be worse for them. Not going to be able to follow. They'll be behind. They won't have self-esteem. It'll be worse for them. So a parent has to know and understand where the kids are coming from. And they have to know what's good for them. Not what they think is, again, within parameters. Within parameters. We have to do what's in their best interest also. True. We have to educate them, that's true. They can't just, say, well, we're going to educate the way he needs and, do all these things that go against Torah. No. Then there will be issues that we're not going to get into it, but there will be issues. There will be issues. What happens if a child, goes, strays off the path, right? Let's say they stray off the path. There's a whole question. A girl wants the mother to go shopping with her and she's buying clothes that are not modest. Should she go and buy clothes with her? She's not going to the right path. What do you do? It's a complicated question. Yeah. Some people, many people would say that, you still have to have an open connection with them. Right? It's painful to see. Painful to see what kids go through. But at that point, you don't want to lose that connection. If they're still coming to you, whatever, you still have that connection, you don't want to lose it. To what extent you're embarrassed by it, you don't want to be seen with them in public, the way they're dressed and different things. It's hard. It's very hard trial. Very, very hard trial. In general. But, in the end, we got to do the best we can for them. If they bite, they bite. If they don't, a lot of people in this process of conversion, the kids don't go in the same path. It's painful. I know someone who became religious much later in life, and they had 2 daughters. And my assumption today is probably the same, probably what happened. And that is that the daughters still aren't religious. But they had an open door policy, they still had a very strong connection to them, but they don't want anything to do with Torah. They didn't shut the door. They didn't slam the door in their face. They know this is what they're doing and whatever. And, it's painful to see. Come at it later, it's harder. There's no question. The person they should not expect their kids to go in the same path. You can try. If they're younger, it's easier. But in general, if they come in the path, very good. If they don't, something else. Then even if you bring up your kids and some of them stray off, okay, still have to have a connection to them. It's painful. There are a lot of things, and without going into it, much bigger topic, but there are many things that a parent can see in their child that makes them cringe. It's painful. No other way to say it. Painful to see they go in the direction they're going, but you have to have open communication. They can always come back. Possibility can always come back. But some may, some won't. But you still have to have that open communication. You can't just throw them out. Right? It's one of the worst things a person can do. Right? Anyway, let's see. Are there any other questions here? Also with grandchildren. So it's hard. It's very hard. You still have to have an open connection. You still do what you do. And listen, you can have families where kids come out maybe a different level of religiosity. Not that you're one that's you're so proud of. But at the end of the day, not much you can do. They make their own choices. It's one thing, again, you see your kids, you see what your kids do, and then you see how they raise their kids. And, you see how they raise their kids, unless it's like a really dangerous situation, right? The grandparents, off limits. Off limits. You can lead by example. You don't know what, unless it's a dangerous situation, you do not want to get involved. You ruin the relationship with your kids. You gotta let them educate them. You have to lead by example. If they ask you questions, whatever. If not, what are you gonna do? You're right. You love them. You're concerned for their spiritual future. You're right. And do you have control? You don't have that much control. You alienate your kids in the process, right? Doesn't mean you can't lead by example. Tell them what you're doing, tell them what you've been learning, this, that. You got to be careful though, because your kids don't want to see you trying to brainwash them, even if it's to their benefit. I know of a story of somebody that, like, the last thing they wanted for their son was to be religious, and this person has a religious sister, lived in Israel for many, many years, and had a connection, with her nephew. Nephew got interested in Judaism. She helped spark it, and then boom, came to Israel, became religious. And the other sister threatened never to speak to her again. And he brainwashed them and this and that. She's very close to her son and blah, blah, blah. But whatever, it's better now. But she had an obligation to try and help, regardless of what would happen with her sister. She had an obligation. Try and save him. Try and bring him back. What happened? Now that okay, that's an aunt to a nephew. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about Jews here, not necessarily non-Jews, but even non-Jews, having them go in the right path. Keeping the no-hide laws, or conversion. Yeah, a Jew's got different obligation. But yeah, listen, within Jewish families, it can be very hard. Within non-Jewish families, it can be hard. To see what path they're going on. You're right. You're 100% right. Concerned for their spiritual future. Very good. You're not in control. You do as much as you can, and like your kids, same thing. Do as much as you can. They don't want to. They don't want to drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak, as I would say. So what are you going to do? They don't want. But as long as it's not antagonistic, as long as it's not toxic in that sense, it can be. Hopefully it shouldn't lead to that. Right? If a non-Jew says something against Moshe Rabbeinu, is it a sin? It's kind of blasphemy. Yeah. Everyone agrees. In Islam, that he was a prophet. No one disagrees. Right? They don't disagree. They just disagree. We're not chosen anymore, and all that. They're making up their own religion. Okay, is it blasphemous? Come out against Moshe Rabbeinu? Sure. Right? He's a prophet. They all agree he's a prophet. So they make fun of prophets. Yeah, God will take care of them. That's heresy. That essentially is heresy. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. We'll pick this up next week. Speaking about anger, I think we're going to be here for a while. Anyone has any questions, you find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, Ethics of Our Fathers, Torah Portion of the Week, Book of Leviticus chapter 17, which we're going to speak about tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Controversial issues, and speak about also mentioning doing one-on-one coaching, spiritual coaching, group coaching. There issues people have difficulty with, i.e., livelihood, family, health issues, whatever, from a Torah perspective. Anyone interested in that, contact me, Rabbi Chaim Kaufman at gmail.com, RVBICHAIMCOFFMAN at gmail.com. Wish everyone a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day, depending where you are. And everyone have a great